Hello, everyone. Welcome to the championship weekend episode of Stacking the Box. Iain MacMillan here, Sterling Holmes. We did not have a show on Monday because of MLK Day, so we do still have to recap the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, and then we will preview the two conference championship games, which are set for Sunday. Should be a fun day for sure. A couple of interesting matchups. Sterling, you still thought that we had a show on Monday morning, so you were ready to go at 9:30 a.m., but we did not. And you said you were looking forward to talking to me about the divisional round that morning. So I guess we can just dive right into it.
I just hope you're doing okay. I mean, I feel bad for you, honestly. I do. I wanted to know how you're holding up because that anger that you had on Sunday, let it go. It's perplexing to me, Iain, that after all of the evidence that the Chiefs have given you, you perpetually go against them. Just help me. Help you. Stop. Just sit back and enjoy greatness as it unfolds right before your Canadian eyes.
Yeah, the messages in the chat are all already coming through, so let's tackle those. Trevor Rogan says, what else can you say but that no one believed in the Chiefs and they just keep proving everyone wrong? They won even with the They won even with the refs against them in this game. Great point, Trevor. I agree with everything you just said. Matthew, something weird was going on. I was guaranteed I would be seeing the Texans on the NFL schedule this upcoming week, but I can't seem to find them. I wonder what happened. The Texans lost to the Chiefs is what happened. Justin says, can't wait to hear about how you collect at the Super Bowl from Iain. Hope it's epic.
Thanks, Justin. Appreciate it.
I was right. You guys are wrong. And
what were you right on?
No, sorry. You guys were right. I was wrong. Is that not what I said? Or did I say the opposite?
You did the opposite.
That's by habit. I'm sorry. I was wrong. You guys were right. The Chiefs are the greatest team, not only in the NFL, but probably the best team in professional sports history. You can't make any argument against them. The refs don't matter. The Chiefs aren't going to make mistakes. Their opponents will, and at the end of the day, the Chiefs will win the game. I was wrong. I waved the white flag. They're not frauds. Not only are they a great team, they are the best team in the NFL, and like I said, probably the best franchise in professional sports history. So I was wrong.
They're up there, yeah. I think you're actually not being that hyperbolic.
I'm not being hyperbolic at all.
I know there's some sarcasm being involved.
Zero sarcasm.
But I'm just telling you right now, your life will be much better. You will be much happier. Just enjoy it.
Yep.
I am excited for New Orleans with you, though.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see the Chiefs there. That'll be interesting. I'll hopefully get to ask some Chiefs players some questions. An opening media day, and hopefully before or after the game. But yeah, that should be fun. And the Chiefs. I want to comment on the refs too. I thought that was a very fairly called play. I know what's his name, who gets paid by the NFL, went on a show the next day and said everything was actually the best calls possible and everything was called correctly, and he was right. So. Yeah, the Chiefs deserve to win that game. The refs called it completely fair, and like Trevor said, probably even favor the Texans a little bit. So, yeah, great game all around, and it's good to see a deserving, really good team win games.
Okay, serious talk now, Iain.
I'm being dead serious. I'm not fighting this fight anymore, Sterling. I give up. I'm laying down my sword. I'm not doing this fight anymore. I'm sick of talking to Chiefs fans in my DMs. I'm sick of talking to them in the replies to my tweets. I'm sick of arguing with coworkers. You guys win. I'm wrong. Chiefs are great. Everyone else sucks. They're going to win this weekend. They're going to win next weekend. I'm not arguing. They're great. Stats don't matter when it comes to the Chiefs. They're just going to win.
Well, all four teams that won were outgained. That to me is such a indictment. This is not me trying to take a shot at you, Iain, by the way, but like yards per play, I think at times does not tell the full picture, especially in the playoffs.
Well, especially when you turn the ball over as much as, 3 of the 4 games. The Lions were -6 turnover differential. The Rams were -2 and the Ravens were -3. So yeah, no other stat matters if a team is going to be down multiple turnovers.
Correct. And I just want to put something to bed here because I don't like talking about referees either. Fun fact, I don't think either call was great. I don't think they were... Let me put it this way. I think there were borderline calls that both went the Chiefs' way. If they would have been called and the Chiefs defender would have been the one to hit CJ Stroud in both those instances, I would have been upset, but I also would have understood. If that's fair, you can question me on that. You cannot go high on a quarterback. You cannot, by the way, they did review it. Remember the first one? And they said, yeah, well, he hit his helmet. Do I like how the rule is laid out? No, I don't like how the rule is laid out, but that is the rule. You can't do that. And I don't understand because I think if it was any other quarterback besides Patrick Mahomes, we're talking about how that probably is a flag. But because people, they hate Kansas City, we're having this argument that the Chiefs were gifted the win. They weren't gifted the win. They won by, there was 8 sacks. 8 sacks. The offensive line of the Houston Texans did not show up. I talked about it all week long. From left to right, they get progressively worse. Blake Fisher was atrocious in that game. Just an atrocity at right tackle. The injuries to the Texans wide receivers played a massive factor in this game. They weren't good. The Texans defense, which for some reason the national media wanted to hype up like they were the 85 Bears, decided the entire game to leave Travis Kelce wide open. That's not the referees. That's lack of planning and the Chiefs taking advantage of saying, we're not going to go at Derek Stingley Jr. or Kamari Lassiter because they're great corners. We're going to attack your backup safeties and your linebackers who struggle in pass coverage. To me, D'Amico Ryans was outcoached. I'm not saying he won't ever get there, but they were a young team with a younger head coach who, when a 4th down situation happened, instead of deciding to either A, punt, or B, take the timeout and try and set up a good play call, decided, let's just try and run a play on 4th down as the play clock is expiring and the Chiefs are sending 8 guys. That's not on the refs. That's on D'Amico and CJ and the Houston Texans being young and green. I think the Houston Texans will be there. They'll have more opportunities. They just were not ready. And the dialogue after the game was so disheartening from me when they are blaming those 2 calls that were borderline. 2 calls that were borderline as the reason they lost that game and saying we knew it was us against the refs and all that stuff. You have already lost. When that is your mindset going into a game, you're not trying to play the Chiefs. You're trying to play this inanimate object. Your mind is out of the game. And that's when those 4th downs happen. Who decided to kick a field goal into the wind on a 55-yarder? An atrocity of a decision. Why? Again, special teams let them down. Defense let them down. Offense let them down. The refs had 2 borderline calls, but if that's your reason for why the Houston Texans lost that game, learn how to tie your shoes and grow up.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, except for the part about questionable calls. I actually think they were fair calls, and by letter of the rule book, they were actually the correct calls. What am I going to do? Argue with NFL rules analyst Walt Anderson? No, I'm not going to do that. They are the correct calls. It was a very fair referee game, and the better team won. They got out-coached. They have the greatest coach of all time. They have the greatest quarterback of all time, one of the top defenses of all time, and they deserve that win, and good for them. I'm happy for Chiefs. I'm happy for Chiefs fans.
Thank you, Ian. And I know there was no sarcasm there. I appreciate that.
There's zero sarcasm. I was wrong. You guys are right. Chiefs aren't frauds. I was wrong.
What do I get for our New Orleans experience? Is that like a all on Iain trip? Is it like a one night? Is it like one
all week on me? No, Jesus, Murphy. No, I mean I don't really know exactly what our schedule is going to be like, Sterling. But I mean if we go out for dinner or drinks one night, then I think that night will be on me. But I don't really think we can set in stone because outside of what we're doing during the day. Yeah, I don't know what we're doing, but we'll figure something out.
And it's fine. You'll just expense it either way. I get it.
No, I don't think I. Oh, maybe I could. Maybe I secretly
Hey,
could.
doesn't hurt to try, baby.
Yeah.
Doesn't hurt to try. All right. No, but in all seriousness, Houston, I think, will be back at some point. They had a plethora of injuries. They're a good team. D'Amico's the right guy. C.J. Stroud's a great quarterback. Love Nico Collins. Will Anderson Jr. is just a phenomenal player. Once they get that offensive line figured out a little bit more, I really do think Houston is going to be in the equation every single year with the Ravens and the Bengals and bordering with the Bills as well. Let's talk about that Bills game, though. That Bills-Ravens game.
No, I'm not done with the Chiefs.
Okay, yeah, whatever you want, man.
I just want to point out Justin in the chat. Man, calls get blown every week of every game. It is only such a big deal because the Chiefs are always on primetime and people despise them like Brady's Pats teams. I agree with that. And I do know that when the Patriots were through their dynasty, Chiefs fans never complained about refs because according to Chiefs fans, doing that would be you'd be a whiny crybaby. And I know Chiefs, because they're saying that now, there's no way they ever complain about refs when it worked against them. So I agree with that comment, Justin.
You know what's really funny about this, truthfully speaking here, Ian? What set off the entire eventual Chiefs dynasty was actually a call in an AFC championship game going against them.
Right. And I'm sure, based on how Chiefs fans reacted this past weekend, there's no way they complained when that call went against them.
No, because you know why? We understood it was the right call. We understood that borderline calls will go against you at times. That's the difference.
Of course.
Who did we blame? We didn't blame the refs. We blamed D. Ford. That's the difference.
Right. So maybe this is why the Chiefs are on this dynasty, because their fans are at such a higher moral level than the rest of the NFL fan base.
Now you
and also they have
Ian.
a better understanding of rules more than all 31 fans of other 31 teams, which felt like
they did in the
it's
Super
a one-sided
Bowl against the 49ers who didn't understand the Super Bowl rules. So actually, yeah, they actually might.
Yeah. So there you go. Hey, and that's why Chiefs fans, some would say probably the best fan base in sports, the smartest fan base in sports, the most, morally high fan base in sports, and I'm happy for them, and I think they deserve another win in the Super Bowl this year.
Thank you. No, it takes a large man. You know what? Credit to you.
Credit to me, honestly. Credit to me and credit to no, actually not credit to me. Credit to Chiefs fans. They have finally shown me the light, and it took me a long time to get there, but and I'm not a Chiefs fan. I mean, I'm not a good enough person to be a Chiefs fan. I think you really need to truly be a intelligent, smart person to be a Chiefs fan, and that's not me. So unfortunately, I can't join that club, but I'm happy for Chiefs fans that they at least showed me the light that the Chiefs are not frauds and they're a great football team and very well deserving of the spot that they're in.
What is funny, I don't get why everyone is ripping on the Chiefs and refs for this upcoming Chiefs-Bills game. Everyone saw Clete Blakeman was refereeing, and they said, oh, just give it to the Chiefs. You do realize that with Clete Blakeman refereeing Patrick Mahomes games, the Chiefs are 6-5. Patrick is 90-23, which is wild. Ian, Patrick Mahomes is 90-23 in his NFL career. He is 6-5 when Clete Blakeman calls games. Pretty crazy, right? The Bills are 6-2. But don't let that narrative happen, or the fact that a referee actually came and patted Josh Allen on the dome and had a nice conversation with him on the sideline. If that actually happened, that's what everyone thinks that the refs do with Patrick, when in reality, that actually happened with Josh. Which, by the way, I have no issue with the referees doing that to Josh Allen or to any quarterback saying, hey, maybe we missed one here. That's fine. That's accountability. But it always gets overblown, and I just find that very fascinating that for some reason that went by the wayside, yet it's still Patrick and the Chiefs that get the calls. Okay.
But the ref, when he went over to Josh Allen, said, don't yell at us anymore, I'm going to throw a flag. He didn't go over and say, oops, my bad.
Have you ever seen that before? Because Shannon Sharp and Ocho Cinco said they've never seen that happen before.
No, I haven't seen it before. But also, I don't think we should change, we a lot of people are saying he went over and said and apologized for missing the call. That's just flat out not what happened.
No, but my point is he still went all the way over there and did that. If that was Patrick, there would be having a field day. But by the way, I love Josh Allen. I like the Bills a lot. I really enjoy Bills fans.
And I like the Chiefs.
I like Bills fans a lot. Bills fans, I think, are, for the most part, which is funny, I'm talking about a fan base that jumps through tables that are on fire as they live in a frozen tundra that is nearly identical to Siberia. I really have a lot of respect for Bills fans. They are a fan base that has been through a lot. 4 straight Super Bowl losses in the, 4 straight Super Bowl losses is ridiculous. They get Josh Allen. I really do think that they're a fun, knowledgeable fan base. I've never had really an issue with any Bills fans. It's buy stock says, go Bills. I don't know if you're a Bills fan or not, but I'm rooting for a good game. They were very understanding of after when they beat Kansas City in the regular season, saying, we've been here before. What really matters is the playoffs. They are a team that I think is starting to understand how to elevate their play come postseason time. They understand more so than the Ravens, I think, of you don't have to play hero ball. It doesn't matter how you win in the playoffs as long as you win in the playoffs. That games change. You might go in with a game plan, but you might have to adjust. I think the Bills are a very worthy opponent, a very great team, and I think they're on the cusp, on the precipice of finally starting to break through.
Justin says, haha, that's so funny. I was at the Chiefs-Pats AFC Championship game, and we all blame D Ford and the refs for that call. Chris Jones for roughing when he hit Brady's. Yeah, so, yeah, and that's what I said. The Chiefs did not blame the refs when that happened, and that is why they are morally superior compared to every other fan base, and they deserve this, win streak that they're on. Buy Stocks is a Bills fan since OJ. There you go.
Nice.
Shout out.
I don't know if that's the name I would have used, but
actually, I'm going to take that back. Not shout out OJ. I'm not going to shout out OJ. And I won't say RIP either. Let's just go through the games chronological, Sterling. I know you want to talk Bills Ravens, but let's quickly talk, if it's okay with you, Commanders Lions.
Would love to.
Which was the upset of the week. Obviously, the Bills were an upset too, technically, but I mean, a 1.5-point underdog's not that big of an upset. This was a big upset. They were like almost a double-digit underdog in Detroit. And, like I said earlier, the outside of the Chiefs and Texans game, the storyline of the weekend was turnovers because the Lions outgained them in yards per play. But they turned the ball over 6 times. Now I think you can probably say it's more like 5 because I think the last one was like last play of the game when it was over anyways. Still, -5 turnover differential, even if you take away the last one. Can't win games by doing that. You got to feel for Lions fans. They're kind of the people's team this year. You got to feel for Dan Campbell. And as someone said earlier in the chat, said Jared Goff is a fraud. That is kind of the issue when you don't have a quarterback, because I think really what separates, and I think this year's example of it is even more clear than previous years, what's going to separate a quarterback from being a really good quarterback and being a championship winning quarterback is not turning the ball over in key moments. That is something Patrick Mahomes is elite at. Even his regular season numbers, a lot of the time he throws double-digit interceptions, but in big moments, in big games, has he ever turned the ball over in a big moment? I don't think he has. It's what has been almost the most impressive thing about Jayden Daniels this season is that in big moments, for the most part, I know he threw a pick late against the Eagles. It didn't matter. He came back and won anyways. But for the most part, a rookie quarterback not turning the ball over in key moments. With Jared Goff, and we all felt this way throughout the regular season, you just, even though that's how efficient of a year you had in the back of your mind, you still thought, man, in the playoffs, can we trust Jared Goff? No. Can you trust Sam Darnold even though he had a really good regular season? You can't.
I thought Goff you could trust. Sam Darnold, I did not think you could. I think there was a difference there. I did think you could trust Jared Goff in the playoffs. I was wrong. Obviously, the defense can't give up 45. That's a big caveat as well here. But when you have that many turnovers, I get it, extra possessions, all that stuff. The Commanders just played great, especially offensively. The Lions, they were just so decimated with injuries. Honestly, you got to almost tip your cap and say the fact they got that far with the amount of injuries they sustained was wildly impressive. Now the hard part happens where Aaron Glenn is going to the Jets. You have Ben Johnson going to the Bears. Now Dan Campbell has to try and figure out OC, DC, and how much of a factor was Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, who everyone lauded as great coordinators. Now the real hard part comes in for Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions. But yeah, man, they are a great team that had a relatively bad day that their quarterback struggled in. And Jayden Daniels was, again, just showed why he was and should win Rookie of the Year and why he was, in our mind, the best rookie quarterback, right? We all agreed that he should have gone 1-1. I've just been so impressed with Jayden Daniels, and you're right, his ability to not turn the ball over, which, by the way, Josh Allen has been pretty darn good at that, and the Bills have as well. Down the stretch, the Bills have been very, very good, which was why I picked the Bills to beat the Ravens. That was a massive reason why. I said variance, and you saw variance from the Ravens where you didn't see from Buffalo, but we'll talk about that a little later on. Jayden Daniels' ability to not get too worked up in big-time moments really shines, especially when, he played at LSU, but it wasn't like LSU played for a national championship, right? It wasn't like Trevor Lawrence in Clemson. It wasn't like J.J. McCarthy at Michigan, right? He played on a great team, sure, but it wasn't like this team that was playing for a national title. So Jayden Daniels' ability to do that, to me, has been very, very impressive. I know as a Falcons fan, I don't know what your thoughts are on Dan Quinn doing this now, but...
Well, I think Dan Quinn doing this with the Commanders, you know who that actually reminds me a lot of? Andy Reid then doing it with the Chiefs after the Eagles. Because don't you see a lot of the issues that Andy Reid had in the Eagles, you kind of saw with Dan Quinn in Atlanta? Choked in time management, choked in big moments, eventually got fired, went to a new team, and now he is seemingly, this is still his first year with Jayden Daniels. I mean, I got a long way to go before I'm going to compare him to the Andy Reid of now, who is the best coach in the NFL and probably the best coach in NFL history, football history, maybe sports history, Andy Reid.
Good call.
Yep. But I'm just talking about career trajectory where he was on one team, led him to a Super Bowl, had some clock management issues, made some mental mistakes, went somewhere else, learned from those mistakes, and now seemingly has fixed them and has, kind of led this Commanders team. So, yeah, good for Dan Quinn. I liked Dan Quinn when he was with Atlanta. It just, I just wish he would have ran the ball in the second half against the Patriots. That would have been nice.
Yeah. I don't know where the Lions' expectations go from here because they've come up short back-to-back seasons while being wildly successful overall, especially in the regular season. And it's not like they were a bust in the playoffs. They just, again, injuries played a massive factor. That's part of the game. I think if you're a Lions fan, you should be slightly concerned about Jared Goff, obviously, and then losing the coordinators. We saw the Eagles really struggle for a year when they lost both their coordinators, right? That was a big talking point. Now, this year, they're good. They got their coordinators that they needed to go with Nick Sirianni, who, again, I don't think is a great head coach by any means, but they at least finally got some footing. Will it take a year back? Will they have a regression of a season like the Eagles did? Will the Lions have that?
Yeah, this kind of seemed like it was supposed to be the Lions' year. The issue with a lot of teams, and we kind of saw it with the Bills this year, in situations where you think the Bills are going to take a step back, but they don't. They actually take a step forward. The common theme with those teams that are able to do that is they have an all-star, elite, top 3, top 5 quarterback. The Lions don't have that in Jared Goff. Even when he's not turning the ball over, he's not a top 3, top 5 quarterback. So when you don't have that quarterback, your championship window is a lot smaller than it is when you do have one of those quarterbacks. If you have a Lamar Jackson, if you have a Josh Allen, if you have a Patrick Mahomes, your window is always going to be open every year no matter what, as long as that player stays healthy. The Lions, that's not the case. You're losing your coordinators. I haven't looked to see who they have for free agents, but I mean, they got to at least get healthy on defense, probably get some, additions on defense. It's going to be a lot harder for them to rebound now than it necessarily would be for a team whose success is largely based on having a top 3 quarterback.
Agreed.
All right, let's move on to Sunday's games. 22 unrestricted free agents, as producer Sean has the Lions. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Actually, let's answer this question from Justin. Which top rookie quarterback from this class do you both see having the current rookie class? I think it's Jayden Daniels. I think if you have any to say anyone else right now, it would be silly.
Yeah,
right?
It would be Jayden Daniels, which, by the way, I not trying to tip my cap here. I said Josh Allen, I've said C.J. Stroud, and then I said Jayden Daniels. What I'll also say is I thought Justin Herbert was going to be a bust, and I thought Deshaun Watson was going to be very, very good and better than Patrick Mahomes. So trust me, we've had some hits, we've had some misses, especially on this show. If you're talking about next year, I don't really think any of the upcoming class of quarterbacks is going to be great in the NFL. I think Shadur Sanders would be my best pick, but I don't have a huge a great feel about any of the upcoming class of quarterbacks personally. I think Shedeur Sanders, though, would be my pick if I had to pick one of the upcoming classes.
Do you think in the AFC we have Mahomes, Allen, I guess Joe Burrow, though, the Bengals obviously took a step back this year, but there was a very clear top 3 quarterbacks in the AFC who just feel like they're going to be this generation's Manning, Brady. But this generation's is kind of a 3-headed monster instead. NFC, let me propose this to you for the next 15 years. Jayden Daniels, Michael Penix Jr. Are they the new Brady Manning of the NFC? So some are asking.
Are they the Phillip Rivers and I don't know. Maybe Eli Manning. You're hoping one's Eli.
Yeah. I'll take Eli. I'll take 2 Super Bowls.
That's my
but
point.
I mean, hey, first start against each other, Penix and Jayden Daniels, already a classic game. Overtime thriller. Both quarterbacks slinging it. It was a fun one.
As long as the Eagles have Howie Roseman as the GM, I think they're going to be pretty darn good, too. Full transparency, I think the Eagles are going to be the team to beat for a while. In the NFC.
But from a quarterback perspective, I think Jalen Hurts is not a top 5 guy.
No, but he's top 10. And again, 1 year, so it's very difficult to say. I would take Jayden Daniels over Jalen Hurts, but I'm probably still taking Hurts over the potential of Michael Penix Jr.
We will see. All right, let's talk Sunday's game, starting with Eagles and Rams. Now, I unfortunately had to miss a chunk of this game, so I don't have a lot of nuanced takes. I saw that Saquon Barkley kind of went off. The Eagles had a 14-point lead late. Rams had a chance to come back and then drove the ball. Jake Elliott, well, we'll talk with Jake Elliott in a little bit. Rams had a chance, but then fell 22 yards short from basically winning the game. You take it away on this one, because like I said, I unfortunately would miss a chunk of this game.
Yeah, one of my boys from Philly was actually visiting Kansas City for a job interview, so we ended up watching this game at a bar. It was a lot of fun. I lived in Philly for 3 years, so I've enjoyed watching the Eagles for a long time. They controlled this game until they didn't. Part of that was Nick Sirianni and Kellen Moore's play calls, right? Now,
doesn't that seem to be an issue for the Eagles a lot of times this season?
Yes. I think they might be the most talented team in the NFL. I just don't think they're well coached. I think they're winning in spite of Sirianni. That's been my personal opinion for a while now. I think Howie Roseman is just outstanding as a GM. I just think they have a lot of incredibly talented players, and they're winning in spite of Nick Sirianni. The Rams gave a valiant effort, and it's why Sean McVay is such a good head coach and why Matt Stafford is so good in playoff situations and playoff games. Difficult with that condition for what the Rams try to do, right? When you try and throw the ball a lot, it's going to be very difficult in that weather. It definitely, game script-wise, weather-wise, leaned itself towards the Eagles. But that was a furious comeback towards the end. Tip your cap. A lot of credit goes there. I don't think the Rams are very talented this year, but they found a way to make the playoffs and win a playoff game. And Sean says Rams chose to single block Jalen Carter on the final 2 plays, and basically he ended the game 100%. The Rams' offensive line and game plan there was difficult. Jalen Carter is such an incredible talent. The Eagles' defensive line is ridiculously talented. Cooper DeJean was pretty good overall as well. I just think the Eagles are incredibly good, and they're winning in spite of their head coach. But I do have some questions in a close game with Jake Elliott. You can't trust that guy. I know it was tough conditions, but it's not like he's been nails all year long.
No, he's been terrible all season.
So,
and I think Eagles fans would agree that actually their biggest concern, which is crazy to hear, but a team's biggest concern is their kicker.
Agreed.
And it should be. I mean, the Eagles didn't cover that spread and almost lost because Jake Elliott missed 2 extra points, I think. Did he miss a field goal too? At the very least, I think it was 2 extra points he missed. So,
it was perplexing, in my opinion, why the Eagles didn't, and maybe I'm wrong here, try and bring someone else in at some point.
Yeah.
I believe he signed that contract extension. I apologize, I don't have it in front of me. But I thought he signed a contract extension, and it could be they're just trying to hopefully see him bounce back. But kickers are finicky, man. One year they're great, one year they're bad. It's why Justin Tucker and Harrison Butker and what looks like Brandon Aubrey are going to be so impressive is the consistency year over year. Oh, and Chris Boswell, obviously, for the Steelers.
Yeah, four-year extension. Yeah, 4-year, $25 million contract. I didn't know the Kickers made that much money. Holy moly.
It was like Evan McPherson for the Bengals. It's like
what a way to make a living, eh?
Yeah, it doesn't suck.
Yeah, my biggest concern about the Eagles outside of Jake Elliott, and we'll talk about this more when we preview their game against the Commanders coming up, is if they get in a situation where they have to throw the ball and come back in a game, I got some concerns because they are squeaking by teams while Saquon Barkley is rushing for 160 yards. If a team can keep Saquon Barkley to 80 yards or get off to a big lead early, I don't know if I trust Jalen Hurts to lead them to a comeback.
Yeah, but keeping Saquon to 60 yards or 80 yards is such a tall task.
Easier said than done, for sure.
When you have the Eagles' offensive line as well. So
Yep.
you're getting the best running back probably in football right now, coupled with maybe the best offensive line in football. That's just a recipe for success.
Yep, for sure. All right, let's talk Bills-Ravens. I did watch this one. Once again, the story of the game is turnovers. Both offenses played well. I still have a lot of concerns about the Bills' defense. They gave up 7.3 yards per play. If you get 3 turnovers, and then you can, still they almost gave up a game-tying 2-point conversion. If Mark Andrews can hold on to it now in the same breath, Josh Allen had a minute and a half to go down and kick a field goal.
Thank you.
Yes.
Why do people forget this?
I agree. A lot of people are just saying it would have went to overtime. A minute and a half for Josh Allen to get down in field goal range is, yeah, he probably would have done it anyways. But still, the point remains, and maybe this is leaking into the AFC Championship preview, but my issue heading into that game was the Bills defense. I'm not now convinced they're going to be able to slow down Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs just because they forced 3 turnovers. If they allow the Chiefs offense to gain 7.3 yards per play, they're not getting 3 turnovers against the Chiefs. That ain't happening. So this coming Sunday night game is going to either have to be a shootout, and the Bills may have to score every time when they touch the ball, or I don't know, Patrick Mahomes for some reason has the worst performance we've ever seen, because that was my takeaway. Even though they won that game, I felt the Ravens looked like the better team, but it doesn't matter when you have a -3 turnover differential. Bills did enough to win the game. And credit to the Bills offense, credit to Josh Allen. He's still doing Josh Allen things, but that defense is not good.
And that was almost my takeaway from the game was, if you look at the box score, you'll say, whoa, look at Lamar Jackson, and then look at Josh Allen. But if you watch that game, one quarterback was in control and understood the game, and the other tried at times to play hero ball. It wasn't all on Lamar. And Mark Andrews was a disservice to the Ravens that game. Yeah. Okay, that
worst game by pass catcher since Kadarius Toney.
It was definitely up there.
It's up there. Yeah.
It is up there. But at the same time, don't fumble that led to a touchdown, and don't throw a brutal interception. You can't do that. You're going to keep the playoff narratives alive and well if that's the case. First drive for Lamar and the Ravens, amazing. Final drive for Lamar and the Ravens, outstanding. But what happened in between was the story. I told you, this is why I took the Bills over the Ravens. The variance of the Ravens is too high. They can play some damn good football, like that first and final drive. And they can also play some ridiculously head-scratching football that makes you think, is this the same team? Which we saw in the middle. The Bills, which is hilarious because they were known with Josh Allen as the high-variance team. I think that's a misnomer now, a misconception now. This Bills team right now is playing very level, at a high level, but very level. They're not turning the football over. I believe they have 0 turnovers since like week 11.
Yes, it's something like that. Yeah, but so have the Chiefs. But talking about this past week.
But the Bills, I believe, have 0 turnovers since week 11 and have forced 13. It was 9 fumbles and 4 interceptions, plus 13.
You can win a lot of games doing that way.
You are going to win a lot of games. So for all the Josh Allen and he's not doing that anymore.
Right.
That's old Josh Allen, and I don't think people realize that. They are playing well balanced, the run game especially, complementary football. I am with you with the defense. There are some concerns. The yards per play, all that stuff. They probably won't get the Chiefs to throw 2 or 3 interceptions, but they might be able to punch the ball out. Again, 9 forced fumbles. Of the last 17 balls on the ground in Bills games, they've recovered 11 of them.
Speaking of which, actually, I think the Chiefs are an elite ball fumble recovering team. I don't remember the last time the Chiefs fumbled and someone else jumped on it. I feel like they always jump on their own fumbles, which, further proves that the Chiefs are the greatest team of all time.
No, but in all seriousness, both of these two teams have played, and I wonder if you're going to get an ugly game. If you're going to get a Floyd Mayweather type of fight instead of a Manny Pacquiao. 2 great boxers, right? But they do it different ways. Manny's going to go in and throw a lot of punches, the high-octane Jayden Daniels style. What did Floyd Mayweather do? He just
played defense.
He just played defense, and he did enough to win. That's what the Bills and Chiefs are doing right now. They're doing enough to win. They don't care about style points at this point. They just care about doing enough to win. I do wonder if you're going to see a ugly ball control game and it's going to come down to the wire, the final possession, and someone's going to take it. But I think if you're expecting a shootout, I think you're going to be mistaken in this one.
Ooh, I don't know if I agree with that. But we'll talk about that game. Yeah, I don't think there's too much else to take away from Bills Ravens. I think the turnovers were kind of the story, and I mean, your heart breaks for Lamar Jackson. And if the Bills lost, your heart would have broke for Josh Allen. It's 2 guys who have had very good regular seasons for a number of years and just can't get to the big one. And then if Josh Allen loses this weekend, our hearts will break for him. Well, Chiefs fans' hearts won't break, but
mine will. I love Josh Allen.
Yeah, but your heart's not going to break because you're going to be cheering for the Chiefs.
No, of course not. But I think more than any other quarterback, the one player who's been kept from the going far because of the Chiefs is Josh Allen.
Yeah.
They've won a playoff game in 5 straight years.
Yeah.
They lose to the Chiefs. The last 10 games, they're 5-5 against Kansas City. Bills are. They're 5-5. The issue is all the losses come in the playoffs. If there's ever a quarterback or a team that has actually been good in the playoffs but just can't get by one team, it's Buffalo. The Ravens I don't feel as bad about. They've lost to a multitude of teams. The Bengals more than half the time, they don't make the playoffs. The Bills are always there. They just keep losing to the same team. That's what has to be so hard.
Well, the Bills lost to the Bengals a couple of years ago.
But the majority of the time I pointed, 3 times?
Yeah, 3 times. Yeah.
That's hard,
3
man.
In the playoffs, yeah. 4-1. So Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen's 4-1 against him in the regular season, 0-3 in the playoffs. Yeah, it's tough. All right, let's preview conference championship games. Let's flip back to the NFC. That is the first one. Do we always know what game's going to be first in conference championship weekend? Do we always know if it's because I think it feels like it's usually NFC, or do they just decide that depending on the matchups?
Well, if the Texans play, it's going to be Saturday at 3:30.
Right? They'll be like, no, actually, we're flipping this game to Saturday. Yeah, and maybe it's based on geography because Eagles are obviously East Coast and Chiefs are. Yeah. What is Kansas City? Do you consider it? That's not Midwest, do you?
I consider Midwest.
Okay.
I don't know what it would be. I know it's technically, if you look at like a history, back in the day it was the Great Plains, but
right.
No one says Great Plains.
Right.
So it's the Midwest. I don't know what else it would possibly be.
Okay. So let's start with Commanders Eagles. In terms of the betting odds for this game, the Eagles opened as 4.5-point favorites. That has the line has moved towards the Eagles. The Eagles went all the way up to 6.5 at a few places. It's now seemed to settled at Eagles -6, which is a little bit surprising to me. But obviously, this is a rubber match between 2 divisional rivals, as big of a rubber match as you can have in the NFL. Eagles won the first game in Philadelphia. In Washington, the Eagles had control of it, and that was the game that Jayden Daniels kind of led that comeback. Despite having like a -4 or -5 turnover differential, still managed to win that game. But of course, Jalen Hurts left the game with a concussion early or late in the first quarter. So it's tough to say how much you can actually take away from that game. But regardless, they're 1-1, and this is the rubber match. Everything on the line. What's your take? What are your thoughts on this one?
2 completely different style of teams. Just 2 drastically different teams facing each other for a third time. This is awesome. Yeah, I thought Detroit and the Eagles was going to be just a master class. It would have been so much fun. But the Commanders are so much fun to watch. Zach Bond, do they run a spy? Do the Eagles run a spy on Jayden Daniels? How do they try and alleviate Jayden Daniels with his legs? He's becoming the Patrick and Josh on third downs, the clutch guy picking him up. I don't like 6 points for the Eagles. I would like the Commanders with the points 3 times in a season. Give me the Commanders with the points. I'm going to go with the Eagles still. I do think, the Commanders' variance in any given game. I know I say variance a lot when it comes to teams. I don't know if I can trust them yet. They might even have the higher upside. I just think the Eagles overall, though, have better players, and the Commanders' offensive line has not been good. I know it's kind of a misconception. If you look at the Bears and you look at the Commanders, everyone automatically says, oh, the Bears' offensive line is trash. No, Caleb Williams still thinks he's in the Pac-12. Jayden Daniels has just done a great job with a below-average offensive line. The Eagles' defensive line is going to feast in this one, putting a lot of pressure on Jayden Daniels. I would expect to see at least 1 or 2 turnovers from Washington. I like the Eagles, but I still like the Commanders to cover.
Yeah. Usually I would come on, and this kind of leads me to my take about the Chiefs too. Usually I'd come on and I would list a lot of statistics about why the Eagles are the better team. Defensively, their numbers are significantly better than the Commanders, more experience. But I just think the Commanders have that je ne sais quoi that the Chiefs kind of feel like they have. I'm not saying they are the Chiefs, but they just seem to have things go their way in key moments. They also seem to not shoot themselves in the foot in key moments. So I think the Commanders are at the very least going to keep this game close. The Eagles defense being that much better might end up being the difference maker. But the Eagles seem like a team that does shoot themselves in the foot in a lot of these situations. They had a 14-point lead late in the game against the Rams and then almost lost it. How many other times have the Leafs, or had the Leafs, ironically, the Leafs. The Eagles have had the game kind of in a firm grasp on the game and then let the other team get back into it. It doesn't seem like the Commanders are that type of team. They seem to be the opposite, and they seem to be a team that has things go their way, and Jayden Daniels is not a guy I want to lay 6 points against. His poise in the pocket is unbelievable. The way that he uses his legs to create extra time, both to pass or to take off and run, does actually kind of remind me of Patrick Mahomes, even maybe like a faster Patrick Mahomes. I don't want to bet against the Commanders anymore. If I were doing this from a pure analytic standpoint, I would take the Eagles. I would lay the points. I'm a changed man. The Chiefs have shown me the light. I will take the points with the Commanders.
Yeah. Eagles win. Commanders with the points. Over under 47.5. I'll go with the over.
Sean says Commanders starting right guard tore ACL last game. Not good going up against Jalen Carter, but I'm sure Cliff Kingsbury can cook some things up. Jayden Daniels is obviously mobile. The Buccaneers got in the backfield against Jayden Daniels a ton in the wild card round, and he just, I'll just run over here and scramble for the 3.5 yards I need for a first down. So
gotta have lane containment.
Yeah. The Commanders just have something like I would not surprise me in the least bit if they win this game.
Well, I've said for a long, long, long time that it was going to be Chiefs-Eagles Super Bowl. I think I said it preseason even. Yeah. So I'm not going to disagree and go against what I said many months ago.
Let me also, by the way, I've apologized for a lot of things on this show. I'd also like to apologize for my playoff bracket, which might go down in history as the worst playoff bracket in history. Sean, do we still have that in the database? Can we? There we go. 0 for 4 on for conference championship weekend. Probably the worst bracket of all time. I overthought it. Listen, I'm a guy who has liked to be the contrarian, who likes to pick teams that no one wants to pick, who likes to, be a little bit of a hipster with my picks. And this season has been the most disastrous season of all time for that. So I'm going to be a changed man moving forward. Apologies to all the listeners and watchers. I had, if you're listening to this, I had my final four. I had Ravens against Broncos in the AFC Championship, and then Buccaneers against Lions in the NFC Championship, and then the Ravens to beat the Bucs in the Super Bowl. So I had all four teams left. I had going out in their first game. I had the Eagles losing to the Packers. I had the Commanders losing to the Buccaneers. I had the Bills losing to the Broncos in the first round, and then I had the Chiefs losing to the Broncos in their first game. So literally, I don't think I could have made a worse bracket.
Mine's pretty good.
Of course.
I don't think Sean has mine, but
no, you didn't make it.
Well, I said it on the show.
Yeah.
I still have 3 or 4 left. Not bad.
Well, yeah, I don't think you had the Commanders in the NFC Championship.
No, but I had the Commanders winning the first game. I had LA winning that first game.
I think you just went mostly chalk. I think you had
No, because I had Washington beating the Bucks, which was an underdog.
no, but sorry, I mean in the Final Four. I think you had Eagles, Lions, and then Chiefs.
I did.
Bills.
I did. Correct.
Yeah.
I had mostly chalk. Well, at that point though, everyone had the Ravens being better.
Yeah,
than
that
the
would have been
Bills.
the non-chalky one. Yes.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, sorry that
you picked right.
Yeah, sorry, man.
Yeah. Instead of picking the right chalky side, Sterling, you should have just picked the wrong fun side like I did. Justin, does your March Madness bracket typically go this badly as well, Ian? Yes, I'm a terrible bracket filler because I always try to be different. I try to be a hipster. I try to be contrarian in my March Madness. I do a March Madness bracket with a bunch of friends from back home, and I consistently finish in almost last place, even though I'm the one who watches the most college basketball by far. So
you gotta pick offense, baby. I just pick offensive. That's why you gotta pick Oakland. You pick the BYUs back in the day. You pick the Davidsons. You pick the guy who can put up 10 threes in a game because every once in a while those dudes get hot, and then you Stephen F. Austin with what's his name, the Thomas Walkup, if anyone remembers that. That's what you got to go with. I'm telling you, Ian.
All right, let's talk Bills Chiefs. In the last 8 minutes of the show. I think we've already set it up well. These two teams have met in the playoffs in the Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes era 3 times. Patrick Mahomes has won all 3. I think, 2 of the 3 were competitive. The last time they played in the AFC Championship is a bit of a blowout in favor of the Chiefs. They won by 14. In the divisional round the year after was the famous 13-second game. And then there was last year was the divisional round. And I forgot about that game. I went back and looked through the box score, and I forgot the Bills missed a very makeable field goal to tie the game late.
Wide right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Bills fans, but it was wide right, which was obviously the famous call back in the day.
I do want to say one thing about actually Chiefs, which I noticed when the Texans missed another field goal against them this past week. Teams just can't make field goals against the Chiefs, like, ever. It was like 77. The teams their field goal percentage against the Chiefs are like 77%. So they missed like 23% of field goals against them this year. There was one missed field goal against the Falcons all season. Teams are like 98% kicking field goals against the Falcons this season. But once again, all I'm saying is the Chiefs they have the greatest special teams coach of all time, and they have the greatest field goal block team of all time. So I'm not taking anything away from the Chiefs fans. It's all credit to you guys. There's no luck involved in that whatsoever.
Dave Tobe is a really good special teams coordinator.
The best to ever do it.
What I will say, there is a lot of variance in that, clearly. But the Chiefs do a really good job, like the Steelers do too. I think we can all agree the Steelers do a great job when it comes to affecting field goals and blocking them. The Chiefs have a player named Leo Chanel, who's their third linebacker, who is one of the strongest pound-for-pound players in the NFL. He's blocked 2 field goals this year. Like, he just always gets a push, right? Like, that does matter. Am I saying that that's going to happen and affect every single field goal? Clearly not. It's not going to. But the Chiefs do get a really good push because they have a massive advantage when they have Leo Chanel going up against, a lot of times, it's not a starting guard. It's that extra guard that's being brought in off of the bench. So they get a really good push on that side. Justin Reed, very smart player, very good at timing snaps up. Again, you will not block every single one. That's not what I'm saying, but it sometimes can affect the kicker when you're getting that quick pressure on them. It might make you rush. That's all I'm saying. And we'll also point out, the Chiefs play an Arrowhead where the wind swirls a lot. It can be a difficult place to kick, okay? Like, it kind of makes sense in Atlanta. You're in a dome, right? It's not equal or apples to oranges to an extent here, right? When you're playing in a place outdoors that swirls versus a place that's a dome. It's why the Chiefs trust Harrison Butker so much. He's so good in that outdoor conditions. Kaime Fairbairn is used to playing in a dome. Now he's playing outside where the wind was brutal. There is a little difference here. Even not Carlson, I don't think he's there anymore, right? Is it still Carlson for the Raiders?
No. Maybe.
Yeah, Daniel Carlson, right? He missed multiple 50-yarders. They play in a dome in Vegas.
Is Daniel Carlson, yeah.
Right? That's a dome. What happened at Arrowhead? He missed multiple 50-yarders. I just think that sometimes that gets overlooked when it comes to kickers.
Yeah, sure. And if I'm just looking at teams' opponent field goal conversion percentage, and yeah, most of the worst percentages come from outdoor teams. Top 5 are actually all outdoor teams, so it makes sense. But still, even amongst those teams, Chiefs had the second lowest.
What's the lowest?
Teams, and this is just this season, only made 70.9% of field goals against the Browns.
Huh.
The Falcons had the worst. Teams made 96.88% of field goals. I think literally there was one missed field goal against the Falcons this year, which is even in a dome. I mean, that's just crazy.
That is crazy.
But let's talk AFC. The last year, it was in Buffalo last year. Is that correct or no?
Yes, it was in Buffalo last year.
Yeah. So back at Arrowhead, that obviously plays a massive role. So a lot of people would say the Chiefs have the best home field advantage in the NFL. That just goes back to the credit of the glory that is the Chiefs fan base. So, as someone who is still cheering for the Bills, I would feel a lot more comfortable if this game was in Buffalo for sure.
I don't think it makes a huge difference.
Oh, interesting.
After the Chiefs won last year in Buffalo, I've always somewhat been in the NFL, by the way. College is different, right? I think we can agree here.
Yeah.
I think home field advantage at times is slightly overblown.
No. Well, that's why it used to be 3 points in betting. Now it's 1.5.
Yeah, it's gone down. Again, I'm not saying that it doesn't make a difference, sleeping in your own bed, all that stuff. I just think teams are so good with silent counts and the offensive line and understanding. Again, not taking anything away from being at home, but I've always thought that home field advantage was slightly overblown in the NFL personally.
Yeah, and the Bills have got to be probably pretty used to playing at Arrowhead.
Well, yeah, they're used to playing at Arrowhead. They're coming from Buffalo. It's not like, again, Miami against Kansas City. Massive home field advantage. That was insane, right, in the playoffs. That's nuts. Maybe even a team like Houston where you're playing in a dome versus now you have to go out. Home field advantage. Buffalo's used to the cold. They're used to the wind. That doesn't affect them a ton. That's just my personal opinion.
All right, so let's talk about how we think this game is going to go down. My opinion, you said you don't think it's going to be a shootout. I think that's the Bills' only chance because I really don't like the Bills' defense. Like you said, they have done a really good job of forcing turnovers, and that is a really good way to win games, but I just don't think they're going to force turnovers against the Chiefs, and I think to win this game, it's either one of two ways. Either Bills find a way to force turnovers, and maybe it is by punching the ball out a couple of times, or because I do think the Chiefs are going to be at least in scoring range basically every time they touch the ball against this Bills defense. So I think this might have to be a shootout. Josh Allen might have to lead his team down to score some kind of points, touchdowns more often than field goals on almost every single drive, and then hope that the game-winning score is on the last play of the game. Because as we've seen in the past, if he scores the game-winning score with 13 seconds left, it won't matter. So they need to somehow, this needs to be a clock management masterpiece by Sean McDermott and the Buffalo Bills. That last score by the Bills might literally have to be the final score of the game. And if it's not, then Mahomes will have too much time. If it's 5 seconds, it might be too much time. So the path to victory for the Bills, to me, seems very slim. It seems like it can happen, but it just seems like it won't.
You and I differ here. I think the Bills cover, by the way, which is only 1.5. Like I think this is. It would be
but really quick. I placed a huge bet on Chiefs -1.5. They're going to win by 1, and it's going to.
Yeah,
I will die.
Yeah, I have so much respect for Buffalo. I really do. I think they're a great team, well balanced. I think this is I have it 24-23. I think Vegas has this thing real close. That was before I knew what the over under actually was I had 24-23. I think it's going to be like a Tyler Bass missed extra point or something.
Yep. If Chiefs win but don't cover, I'll cry literally. Maybe I should just bet Chiefs money line. Maybe I should have done that instead.
Was the juice worth it for the 1.5? Like, I can't imagine that was that much of a difference. I wouldn't have risked that, Ian. You're the betting guy, so you know more than me. But
yeah, maybe, I don't know. I did it out of emotion last Sunday.
You're the betting guy, but I went 3-0 last week. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I'm not a betting guy anymore based on how this NFL season has gone. Okay, so what do you think is the path to victory for the Bills?
Ball control, not turning the football over, which they don't. I think it's going to be a feeling out process, obviously. Like, again, I think it's going to be a lot of Floyd Mayweather-esque early on. I think you might see some haymakers late from both teams, but it's going to be Josh Allen with his legs, especially. The Chiefs didn't really use a spy on him in this previous game. I wonder if they do with either Drew Tranquill or Leo Chanel. We will find out. But I think it's Josh Allen with, again, you saw how they won in the regular season. It was Josh Allen on fourth down coming through with his legs. They needed a first down. He got the touchdown, so the score was a little bit larger than it was, than it looks. They won by, 11 points, 10 points, 11 points. It was about to be 2 points with the Chiefs getting the ball back if they stopped him on that fourth down. He scored a touchdown on it. To me, it's Josh Allen's legs. And you're going to have to see someone in the wide receiver room step up. Probably Khalil Shakur in the slot. That's the guy I'd be worried about for KC. Whoever's in the slot for the Bills, that makes me a little nervous.
Do you have a hard out, by the way, now?
Yeah, I got to go do the Chiefs podcast now.
Okay, so I will refrain from any further questions. But you still think the Chiefs win, but you think it's going to be close.
I think it's a very close game, a 1-24-23 victory.
I think the Chiefs might win this in a blowout. I think it'll be 10
I hope
points.
so. Iain, what's going on with you?
I think it's a bad matchup for the Bills, and like I said, I've seen the light. The Chiefs are the best team in the NFL. Please send my regards to the Chiefs podcast, guys.
I'll give them your regards.
Because, they were a big fan of my tweets during the game.
I'm sure they were.
Of course. Jaylen says they have to spy him. Josh Allen knows exactly what he needs to do. Yeah. I think both teams need to spy on defense because both Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes are the king of scrambling on third down and getting the first by half a yard. All right, that's the show. Enjoy the action this week. It will be a fun Sunday regardless. And then next week, are we back Monday morning?
Maybe.
I think we're probably back Monday morning, 9:30 a.m. We'll recap the conference championship weekends and start our preview for Super Bowl 59. Yes, Jaylen, I have come over to the dark side. It's if you can't beat them, join them, and that's what I'm doing. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll talk to you Monday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern. Bye. Go Chiefs.